Hey guys, I'm here today to do a overview of the books I read in May. So I've been tracking this in my planner. I kind of fell off using my planner in May, but I still tracked my books I read, so that's why it's right here next to April's books. So I'm just gonna go through my books. I believe all of these were library books, but I did take pictures of them, so I'll throw up a picture of the cover so you can see what it looks like. The first book I read was Margot by Jillian Cantor. This book was about what life would have been like for Anne Frank's sister if she had lived. So the idea was that like she escaped and is living a life as Margot in the United States, and nobody knows she was Anne Frank's sister. And then it's a number of years later, I think about 15 years later. I didn't write it down. And the film comes out, the Diary of Anne Frank movie. So it's about like her struggles and kind of what she does in her life to address her like feelings about the movie and how the diary is different and why didn't her diary get published, and all those things. It was pretty interesting. There also was a like storyline about like she was the one who had liked Peter and been in a relationship with Peter in the attic, but they had made a pact to find each other if they escaped in the US. And she also likes her boss, the person she works for. She's working in an office, so there's like conflicting feelings there. She doesn't know if she likes Peter or her boss or what she should do, and nobody knows that she was in concentration camps or that she's Jewish. So there's all this kind of storyline about what she should do, how she feels. Nobody really knows who she is and what she should do about that. So overall, I really liked this book. The next book I finished was The Promise Girls by Marie Bostwick. This book was about three sisters whose mother, when they were younger, she had them using sperm from, I think one was like a pianist, and one was an author, and one was an artist, or that's what the sisters were. So the idea was that she found three separate fathers for three separate daughters, and they were all really intelligent, accomplished men, and she got IVF, some of like the first ones, and she has raised these daughters and they're becoming geniuses, and they go on a talk show and have a book that their mom's written about them. And now the story is in the future, they don't talk to their mom anymore. It's about their lives now, what they're doing now. None of them are really doing any of the things that they were doing as children. So they aren't a pianist, an artist, and a storyteller. And one of them gets in an accident. Spoiler alert, a little bit. So the story is about like what happens to them, how they kind of come together more as a family and like they kind of find themselves again. They have somebody who is coming and doing a documentary about them and trying to get them to do this documentary with him. So there's a new person in their lives that they're telling their story to and kind of bringing up things from the past. And it's kind of interesting in that, and what they find out about themselves through thinking about their past and also doing new things now in the future. It was pretty good, not as good as Margot. I would recommend it if it sounds like an interesting novel to you, but if you aren't interested in the kind of story, I probably wouldn't read it. The next book was The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and this was by Becky Chambers. I just looked it up and it has Wayfarers in parentheses. I'm not sure if this is, mine didn't have that on it. So I'm not sure, is it a series? I don't know. But this is about a crew on board a space ship. And so what is their spaceship called? Driller? A tunneler. I think that was what it was called. So they're making wormholes in space. Obviously there's, space travel and everything. So they're making wormholes to make space travel easier through these holes that they're making in space. And a woman who joins the crew and is meeting everyone, and she has a secret, so they don't know who she really is. She's kind of lying to them. And there's different people on the crew that she's meeting and different species. So there's a bunch of different species, different aliens in the novel. And there's also the level of subterfuge where they don't know who she really is. And they are undertaking this long trip to do a really big job to get more money, because they earn money for tunneling the wormholes. I really liked this book. I think the interesting thing about this book is the development of the different species. If you like science fiction and you find space interesting, I would definitely recommend this book. But it also has a lot of information, a lot of relationships that are occurring. So if you just like books like that have different levels of relationships, and obviously they're not all humans, but examining relationships between individuals, it has a lot of that in it, which I really liked. And the space information, the space aspect, was really interesting too. So I definitely recommend this book. I like this book a lot. If it is a series and I just found that out, I would definitely read more, but I'm not sure why it has that in parentheses. So the next book I read was The Day I Died by Rader-Day. This book the ending let me down. I think I wanted more from the ending. So obviously I'm not going to tell you about the ending, but it wasn't the ending was bad. It just left me feeling like it wasn't done. But it was okay. This book was about a woman who, again, people don't really know who she is. She works kind of as a consultant, and she reads people's handwriting to find out about the person. She's, what is that called? I don't know. I feel like that had a name, but I don't know what it was. So she moves around a lot with her son, and he doesn't know who his father is, and she won't tell him, and there's kind of a level of mystery around that. So we don't know anything about that, and we don't know who she really is or why she's running. And basically the story is about her trying to solve some mysteries by reading people's handwriting and trying to figure out who has abducted this boy and what's happening. And she does some other cases on the side as well. But the story is really about her also, and finding out who she really is, that type of thing. So I think I wanted a little bit more about who she was that I was let down about. But if that sounds like an interesting novel to you, you probably will enjoy it. So the next one, The Bright Spot by Robert Sidney, is about a man who is an actor in the future. So they're doing films where they recreate past stories, and that's kind of his job. But in the future, there's a lot of poverty and issues with wealth. So there's really wealthy people who have everything, and he is on the other end, but he's not the lowest of the people in poverty, because those people are mind controlled. It's not even they're mind controlled. Let me see if I can figure out what it was called. Oh, it was called workwear. So a lot of jobs are now using this workwear technology where the person doesn't, like, their brain basically shuts off and they have no memory of their time at their job, and this workwear does the job for them efficiently, doing everything right. They don't remember any of it after. It basically is like their mind controlled by this workwear. So people doing like construction work, but also I believe like firefighters, soldiers. So that's who it was made for, was like soldiers. And the story is about this man who is an actor, and he and a woman who is an actor with him do a job on the side where they trick an old man into thinking he's time traveled into the past, and is seeing like a scene from his past replay, and the two actors are doing it, so they look like him and a woman from his past. So the story, it's hard to talk about without giving too much away, but he's kind of learning more about the man and workwear and falling in love with this woman. So there's a lot of different aspects. There's some like crimes committed, and he has to kind of figure out who committed the crimes, what's happening. There's some information, like the aspect of the workwear, like, is it ethical to have people controlled like this? I mean, they don't really like talk about that super specifically throughout it, but they kind of touch on it. And then also the relationships and his acting. So there's kind of a lot of stuff like all pushed together in the book, and it was pretty interesting. Definitely like I didn't know what was gonna happen. And then the last book I read was kind of, I don't know, it was The F Word by Liza Palmer. And this one was okay, but like nothing super special, I think. It's about a like woman she used to be obese, and now she's like lost a bunch of weight, and she's successful and married, and then kind of things start falling apart in her life. So kind of her figuring out herself and what she really wants out of her life. So interesting, but not my favorite. Not a bad book, but not the best. So those were the books I read in May. If you're interested in this series, I'm planning to do it again for June. I have another book that I finished. So I have 3 to talk about next month so far, and 1 is currently in progress, and my goal is to read 5 books a month, so that's my goal. Let me know if you like this video. Thanks, bye.